My name is Roger Kala, I'm an English teacher, and today we're going to talk about something that I don't normally talk about here on the channel. I'm going to talk about something that is related to politics, but don't worry, it's not about politics. This video is not political at all. This video is going to be about Eduardo Bolsonaro. Many people have sent me messages asking me to analyze his English, and at first I didn't want to do that because many people had done that before. I checked it on YouTube and many teachers have done that. However, I've noticed that most of the teachers just analyzed just a little part of a video here and there. So I decided to do something different. This video is going to be very quick, but I'm going to watch a very long interview that he gave to an American guy. This video is, let me see here, this video is 1 hour and 9 minutes long, so it's a very long video. I'm not going to show you the video, but I'm going to add the link to this video in the description of this video. If you want to watch the original video, please go to the description of my video and click on the link I'll leave there. So I'm going to think about his English, whether it's good or not. Okay, so I'm going to watch the video. It's going to take me 1 hour and 9 minutes and I'll come back here. So, okay, now after having watched his video, I have some impressions, have some things to say about his English. But again, this is not a political video. I'm not going to express my opinion whether he should be a diplomat or not. I'm just going to tell you what I thought of his English, what I think about his English. So the first thing I noticed and that I took note of is that he knows grammar. He has definitely studied grammar before, because sometimes he uses the simple past correctly, the simple present, the future, present continuous. So he knows grammar. He knows something. So this is a positive thing. Another positive thing is that he's not afraid to make mistakes, and yeah, he has made many mistakes, but it's okay because he was trying to get the message across. And this is a very important characteristic of a student, of a learner of a language. So you shouldn't worry too much about making mistakes, because the most important thing is to communicate the message, to get the message across. And I've got to say that this guy is really brave, because he was at this interview for 1 hour and 9 minutes, having a long conversation, answering questions, and he was not afraid to make mistakes. He was brave enough to just keep speaking, and that's a very positive thing. And even though he's got a very strong Brazilian accent, I could understand him perfectly, and I believe that a native speaker of English would understand him perfectly as well. To be fair, well, I know Portuguese and I know English, so for me it was easier to understand him. The question is, would a native speaker of English who doesn't know anything about Portuguese, would this person understand him? This is a question. I'm going to ask one of my friends, one of my British friends. Yeah, I'm going to send him a message and I'll send him this link to this video and I'll ask him whether he could understand him or not. Okay, I'm going to do this right now. So in the end of this video, we're going to see my friend's opinion about his English, and my friend doesn't know anything about Portuguese. So if he understands him, any native speaker of English will understand him as well. Okay, so I've said some positive things about his English. Now I'm going to say some negative things about his English, but these are things he can improve as a student. Even though he had a very strong Brazilian accent at this interview, I could understand him perfectly, so that was not the problem itself. The problem was that every time he didn't know a word in English, he just came up with another one. Yeah, so he was creating new words. Okay, that's a positive thing, because then it means that even when he doesn't know a word, he's not going to stop the sentence. He's going to just come up with something else and keep speaking. So that's a positive feature. I always tell my students, when you're talking in English, when you're talking to another person in English, try not to stop it just because you don't remember a word. You know, try to find strategies to express what you mean. And that's what he did. But the thing is, he started creating new words. For example, and it happened all the time. Like if I click here anytime in the video, I don't have to really look for a specific sport. I just have to click at any part of the video. Like, he wasn't trying to say the sentences the way a native speaker would say. He was just like translating everything from Portuguese into English without adapting anything. It was like he was translating literally word by word from Portuguese into English. And okay, I'm going to show you a random part of the video. Let me see here, for example, and let's watch it together. Like, okay.
That's true. If you look to, it was so hard to Jair Bolsonaro can find a party.
Okay. So he said, it was so hard to Jair Bolsonaro can't find a party. Yeah, that's what he said. Because I know English and I know Portuguese, I could understand him perfectly. He said, it was so hard to Jair Bolsonaro can't find a party. He meant, if you translate that word by word, it makes sense. It was so hard to Jair Bolsonaro can't find a party. Foi difícil pro Jair Bolsonaro conseguir encontrar partido. Okay, it makes sense. However, that's not how a native speaker of English would say that. For example, let's say something like Jair Bolsonaro couldn't find a party easily, or it was very hard for him to find a party, something like that. So what Eduardo Bolsonaro is doing is actually just he's translating from Portuguese into English literally word by word, and it's easy to find moments that he does that. Look, I'm gonna click at any other part of the video, and you're gonna notice that. Okay, like for example here.
Party of the Congress, with this huge votation ever.
See, something that I told you before. That's not something that a native speaker of English would say, or a person who really knew English would say, because he meant foi o partido com maior votação da história. I would say something like the most voted party ever, the most voted party ever. But that's what he does whenever he doesn't know a specific word. He just comes up with a different one, and that's his strategy to keep the conversation going, which is a good feature. On the one hand, it's a good feature, it's a good characteristic because it doesn't let the conversation die. On the other hand, sometimes maybe a native speaker of English won't understand him completely because he's just coming up with new words. Okay, let me click here at any other place of the interview.
And one part, it was fezes all around.
I understood it. I could understand it perfectly, but because I know English and Portuguese, my question is, can a native speaker of English who doesn't know anything about Portuguese understand him as he speaks? We're going to see that in the end of this video because I've sent a message to my friend asking him whether he could understand this interview or not. Okay, without any further ado, I'm going to show you what my friend told me. Hey mate, please watch this video and tell me if you can understand what this guy is saying. Hey, okay, send me the link. Okay. Who's this guy? Eduardo Bolsonaro. Just watch it and tell me your opinion about his English. Alright. I've watched the video and it was hard to completely understand what he was saying, mate. I could understand around 48% of what he was saying, but just because of the context. He's got a very noticeable Brazilian accent and he was using some words that don't exist. Maybe this video should have subtitles in English because I couldn't understand most of it. Alright, so my opinion about this whole situation is that he is a very good pre-intermediate student. Let's imagine we've got these categories here, these levels. So basic 1, basic 2, pre-intermediate, intermediate, upper intermediate and advanced. I would say he is a pre-intermediate student because throughout the video he used the simple present tense, the simple past, he used the simple future, will and going to, he used present continuous and past continuous, and that was it. He hasn't used the present perfect, he hasn't used the present perfect continuous, and he hasn't used any phrasal verbs. He was just using common verbs and simple vocabulary. Therefore, I can say that he's a pre-intermediate student, and there are some things he can do. First, he's got to practice his pronunciation, and I'm not talking about his accent, because having a Brazilian accent or any kind of different accent from a different region from the world is okay. People like listening to people with a different accent, so it's okay. But he's got to practice his pronunciation, because sometimes if you pronounce a word that is completely different from how it should sound, then the native speaker of English won't understand it. So he's got to practice his pronunciation, and a good exercise to do that is by reading sentences out loud and recording your own voice. do lots of repetition exercises and record your voice, because when you listen to yourself, you can spot some mistakes here and there. So do that. In order to acquire new vocabulary, you can read books, you can read articles about politics. That's a good thing. You can read the news. That's a good way to acquire vocabulary. You can watch my videos here on YouTube, even though I don't talk about politics, but anyway. So my conclusion is that overall, he's an excellent pre-intermediate student, and he's really brave. He was brave enough to go to this interview, and he was brave enough to be interviewed by this American guy, and he was not afraid to just express himself. He was improvising all the time, and that's a very positive thing when you're learning a different language. And because of that, I've got to congratulate you, because you are on the right path towards fluency. Okay, this video wasn't political. I'm not going to tell you whether I believe that he should be a diplomat or not, because I'm not entitled to do that. I shouldn't do that. I can't do that. Yeah, I was just here analyzing his English, and that was my conclusion. What do you think about it? It's okay if you disagree with me, but just leave a comment telling me why you disagree with me. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, like our page on Facebook, follow me on Twitter and on Instagram, and download the PDF files from a free English course. So if you want to study English and you don't have enough money to do that, I've got 2 free English courses here. So just read the description of this video and see how to download the PDF files for my free English course. Thank you very much for everything, and I'll see you next class.
Please click the big red button to subscribe. It really helps me when you do that. And click the bell to allow notifications so you will never miss new videos. Thank you very much.